Old World, Florida. Dr. Narco Longo.
Brought to you by the Florida Department of Magic. Welcome to Florida, baby.
Florida is the original Garden of Eden.
Florida has the highest concentration of freshwater springs in the world.
Florida oranges are the golden apples of mythology. A race of giant men once roamed this peninsula. The Smithsonian can suck my balls.
Florida is littered with many ancient megalithic ship anchors, known as sacks or stones.
I'm bringing Saxa back.
Howdy, everybody. Happy Saturday. It's July 18th. I'm coming to you live from the Dancing Elephant Bookstore. And we've got a very special guest tonight. Pretty important occasion. So, yeah, guys. Welcome, everyone. Here with my co-host, Merlin.
What up?
What's up, Merlin? How you doing?
Doing great, man. How are you?
Chilling. Now, the exciting show we got tonight, we have none other than the great American astrologer, Robert Phoenix.
Always a pleasure to be here. Can you hear me okay? I got a new mic, and I'm road testing it. So how's the sound?
Sounds pretty good.
Sounds good.
Do I need to turn it up a little bit, or what do you think?
Sounds good to me.
All right. It's
What do you
really
think?
funny. So I'm on the road a little bit, and I wanted to have some decent sound on it. By the way, nice to meet you, Merlin.
Nice to meet you too, Robert.
And so we ran out to Best Buy. I haven't been into Best Buy in years, right? So I could grab this headset mic. And I was on Twitter before the show, and somebody who I follow, and he follows me, and he posts a post about people who go to Best Buy. And he frames it in such an archaic, tableau, right? It's like they're going to leave Best Buy with some antiquated tech, with their Dutch trucker's cap, and take their cane and go home and watch cable TV. Right? And I thought it was really funny, and I said, "Hey, man, I was just there to go buy some headphones, but I don't have a Dutch trucker's cap." So it's kind of synonymous with the time that we're living in some ways, right? Where we have this really interesting feedback loop going on, that there's very little lag time with reality.
Yeah, man, you got exposed. Best Buy is a little boomer coded.
It is, right? But I needed something, right? I need, where am I going to go? Radio Shack's closed. There's no more Radio Shacks, right?
Yeah.
And the drone service to drop this off at the place isn't developed yet. So we left it to Best Buy and then Vietnamese food after that. So it worked.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, speaking of Merlin, Mr. Phoenix, it's my great honor to get to introduce you guys. Merlin, a great astrologer.
He looks like a Merlin too, by the way, right?
Do I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever see Excalibur by any chance? The movie Excalibur?
I don't
Which
think
one?
so.
The
You should
80s?
watch. It's the 80s, and
Yeah.
Nicole. The guy's name is Nicole Williamson. He's a famous British actor, and he plays Merlin bald, right? So he's bald,
Nice.
right? And he also
Based.
he's got a little goat thing going on, right? So classic Merlin. Excalibur is actually a really good movie. Anyway, I'm sorry, Longo. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. We're just chilling.
Check it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, guys, the main occasion for our gathering tonight, we've got some really exciting stuff to talk about, some astronomical occurrences upcoming. But the grand occasion for tonight, we're celebrating the release of Robert's new book called The Celestial Blueprint. I'm going to pull that up on the screen here. And the link's going to be in the description here. Yeah, give a round of applause in the chat there. And where is this available, Robert?
Right now, we have the soft cover, which I have a physical copy of, and yours is coming soon.
Nice.
And then we have the hardcover, which is now available, both of them on Amazon. And I want to draw your attention to something.
Mhm.
On the back cover. Let me see if can you see the back cover at all?
Yeah. Or I'll zoom.
Yeah, right there. Okay, you see that picture right there?
Yeah.
That was taken by Jeff.
Really?
Yes.
At the Stonehenge 2?
Yeah. Jeff, I had just picked up Jeff from his debacle in Junction, an interesting place to have his car put on ice. And I'm thinking,
oh man,
what
we're spilling
what
all the beans, aren't we?
well, I said, what am I going to do with this guy? What am I going to do with this guy? Right. And what was the therapist's name? Artie Lang. Do you know Artie Lang at all?
The comedian?
No. Artie Lang was a depth psychologist. He was Scottish. He wrote a very interesting, weird book called Knots. He was a rebel sort of psychotherapist.
Mhm.
And I read this story about Artie Lang one time. And this family had brought this woman to him, and she was experiencing catatonia. She wasn't in a coma. She was experiencing catatonia. And I was like, what am I supposed to do with this woman? Right. And he thought about it, and he looked at her and thought about it, and looked at her, and he said, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get her a job as basically a fashion mannequin in a department store window. So they would take this woman and they would take her to a department store and they would dress her up in whatever kind of fashion they wanted to put around her, and they'd stick her in the window.
Yeah.
Right. And then what happened is that over a short period of time, she emerged from her catatonia. It was like this weird confluence of debilitation and yet the right occupation. It was very strange. And so I had that in the back of the mind when Jeff was sitting next to me in my car. I'm like, how can I take advantage of this guy's how shall we say, loose grip on reality? I'll take him to Stonehenge and I'll have him take a picture of me. So it was Artie Lang inspired.
You're muted, Longo.
Sorry. Artie Lang, that's crazy. It's the same name as the comedian. Yeah.
Yeah. It's RD. It's like R-D dot
okay.
Lang. L-I-N-G. Yeah. Yeah. I think didn't he write another book called The Politics of Experience or something like that? He was one of these really interesting characters. And then just real quick, I'll just finish the loop here. Mm-hmm. So one time I went to, it's kind of in the Jeff loop too. One time I was at this island, and it's called Iona. It's like way out in the coast of Scotland. It's where the Irish brought Christianity to Scotland. They sailed across the Atlantic there, pretty short, set up an abbey. And you have to take a bus. First of all, you take a ferry from Iona to this place called Mull. And then you get on a bus on Mull and you take it all the way across Mull, which is this god-awful island, which has been completely denuded by logging. And as we got on this bus, there was this old Scottish guy, and he was going on and on and on. And he said, Artie Lang was here last month. And he was drunk, and he lost his mind, and they had to take him off the island. I was like, oh, that's interesting. That sounds like Artie Lang. And then we were all relatively young then. I'm a lot older than I was then. And he started to talk. He says, "What's it like to be young? I used to be young one time. I'm not young anymore." And we were literally like, listen to this guy's death trip, right? All the way back to Mull. And that just sums up Artie Lang. And in some ways, it also sums up the back of the cover of the book. So there you go.
Shall I, man?
Yeah.
So give us the story of the book. How did it come about?
Yeah. So it's really interesting. I feel like that this book is the interstitial moment between the oral tradition and the written word. And I've always been really big on the oral tradition. I really like storytelling. Like, as you can see, I just told you a couple stories. And I feel like storytelling is undervalued in our culture. We used to sit around fires and, pass stories along, either through generations or from way back. So my course, which is a 16-hour course, is my story with astrology, right? So everything that is a oral compendium of astrology is my course. And when I set out to do my course, I had an outline and a syllabus, and I had things that I put together, and then I used those chunks of language and then translated them into the course via video. And then what we did is we took the video and we ran it through AI, and it reassembled basically parts of the original language, which turned out to be the course, back into the written word. So this book is a kind of a compendium of where I started off with my notes and my outline, and then the course, and then bringing it all back together. And there we are. It's 23 chapters in 353 pages, plus an appendix and introduction and all that stuff.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Excited to see it.
Yeah,
Excited
and
to get one in my hands.
yeah, and it reads really well, right? Like when you read the book, you can hear my voice in the book. Like that's me. And when we did this process, it was like, okay, well, we started off here, we went here, and now it's going to go here. And what's going to look like when it goes here? I'm like, holy shit. This worked out incredibly well. And hopefully this will be the first of a number of books that are going to be in this line. Now, the next books that will come will not go through this process. They'll be a little bit different because I have something really targeted for what we do next. And but it's been. I'll tell you what else is really cool about it is, my thing is the 11th house, right? That's my YouTube channel, the 11th house.
Right.
And the 11th house is Aquarius, and it's groups and networks and friends. And this book is really an expression of the 11th house. Because number one, I had a team that helped me put it together. Shout out to Bruce McDonald and Jamie. So there's that piece of the pie, right? And then our friend Mario from Symbolic Studies put the cover together.
Oh, did he?
Absolutely. Great cover.
Oh, wow.
And
It's
he
a
also,
nice cover.
Yeah, he did the back and the spine, and Mario and I collaborated on it, but it was really, Mario. And it's like, okay, what do I like? I like this. I like this. And I didn't have to tell him very much. He really intuitively got it.
Nice.
And then, of course, we have the forward by David Palmer, and he did a really tremendous job writing the forward. And then you and Evan contributed some pull quotes from the back, and Jeff took the picture. So this is really an 11th house piece of art or work, right?
Yeah.
And to me, like, I loved every part of that. I loved every little part of that collaboration. So, and even a shout out to Ethan, who back in 2016 and 2017 worked with me on the production of my course. So, he's also a part of it as well. And that was really cool. And I don't know about you guys, but when I have that positive experience of working with people, and we pull something together, it gives me a lot of faith and hope that we're headed in the right direction.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it looks like Crone Ranger. You know them from your
Yes,
channel? Crone Ranger. Looks like
absolutely.
Crone Ranger got a copy, and they had to say about it. The book makes astrology accessible and enjoyable, and that's the goal, right?
Yeah, so I think I really threaded the needle so that people that are new can pick it up and you'll be able to learn from it. And people that have experience with astrology, you'll go in there and you'll learn some new things as well. Maybe a different take on relationships between planets or angles, and maybe how I describe them. So I think I found the sweet spot here, and that's Mishi. That's my gal Mishi in SoCal.
Nice.
Yeah.
While we're on the comments, Red Pill 78 wife with the $9.99 says, "Hope you are doing well." Thank you. Good to see you. Wojo 6567, the $5 says, "I seriously just watched Excalibur. I'm not kidding."
What did I
Nice.
tell you? We are living in a time where the lag time in reality is getting shorter and shorter.
Also, in the last 2 weeks, Excalibur, that 80s version, is viral on TikTok. With
Is it
No,
really?
nice.
edits with different like modern music put over top of it. But yeah. And then Michael Dundon with $20 says, shout out to the Enchanted Ones from PSL. Shout out the ninth house.
Love the ninth house.
Alrighty. So, man, let's see. What should we take it? Merlin, you got any questions for Robert?
No, I think it's cool that you care about the oral tradition and stories, because it's important given what you are, which is a male astrologer on YouTube. Something that Longo and I both feel, I don't know if I would say passionately about, but we care about, is like part of this podcast was like making astrology more masculine, right? So like being a male astrologer on YouTube, you kind of have that like, okay, we got to tell stories, because that's like what guys like to do, right? Like guys relate to other guys like with stories, with life experience, with whatever, right? There are guys who are both younger and older listening and chatting right now, right? So it's all about the connections you make, which ties into the point you were talking about with the collaborations, right? Like that's positive social media. Finding like-minded people to collaborate with is fantastic. So kudos on all that, man. That sounds really productive.
Dude, you literally just like summed up my blurb on the back here. I said Robert bridged the gap between genders and generations, and I think that is Robert's greatest, ability, contribution, so amen, Merlin.
When you say that, I have to say, in all honesty, that's true. And no, really. And the reason why I'm not ashamed to, or I don't feel like I'm blowing wind of my own sails here.
Hell yeah.
But if you look at the people that come into my show or are part of the experience, I've got everybody from Gen Z all the way up to Pluto and Cancer, in some instances, silent generation, right? That's a pretty wide spectrum of people. And I feel like I can relate to all of them to some degree. Maybe not completely, but I can relate to all of them to some degree. And then the gender thing is also really interesting as well, because a lot of my audience is female.
Big with the ladies.
But I also have dudes in my audience as well, right? And so I feel pretty good about that comment, just in general. And it's not something I set out to do, by the way. It's like, oh, let me see how many demographics I can hit. It's just a byproduct of whatever it is that we're experiencing together.
Longo, you muted again.
Sorry, I was drinking some water.
Okay.
You're doing your gathering this year?
No, instead of people coming here, I plan on going out there, and I'm going to try to do some in stores and hopefully show up in your neck of the woods, right?
Okay.
Not in the not so distant future. That's the plan.
Going on tour. Phoenix is going on tour.
We're gonna go on tour.
Hell yeah.
Got some loose plans that are solidifying for the Southeast, and I'd like to maybe hit maybe the Pacific Northwest or Southern California. Those are two areas that I feel pretty good about. But no, you were. I think you were at the apotheosis of my event when you showed up here in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the, and it was really interesting because that was the eclipse, and it was the Libra eclipse. It was the one right before the Aries eclipse. Well, 6 months before the Aries eclipse, and that's when you were here. And for me, that was like the pinnacle of my event. And if I ever did anything like that again, it would not be here in Kerrville or there in Kerrville, probably in some other part of the world, and we did that. So yeah, that was
Okay.
good. It was a good time.
That's awesome, man. And yeah, we're going to have his book here in the Dancing Elephant bookstore. We're going to try and line up a date for an author event, something like that. And hey, you need a place to stay when you're down here. I've got an extra room. So
Are you kidding, man? I'm hanging out with Longo.
all right.
I'm in the Orange Palace, as it were.
No Cuomo, bro. No Cuomo. But all right, so that was my next question is, do you have any bookstores near you that are going to get to, that are, you know, up that alley, open to carrying it? Do you have
That's a really, really good question. Where I live, that answer would be no. Like I got to tell you, man, like where I live, I got to be kind of undercover. You know, Texas is like really, really Christian.
Damn.
Really Christian. And I don't know if you know this story or not, but it was about it was in 2020. 2020, I ran for city council in Fredericksburg. I was living in Fredericksburg. And like it was all legit, man. I had signs and everything. And, you know, we had a little group that got really fired up about, you know, having to wear masks and all this bullshit, right? So, you know, we were always down there at City Hall taking them on. We were part of the meetings and everything. So they had these elections, and people said, Robert, you should run for city council. Oh, I guess I'll do it, right? So I did, and I really I got into it, right? I did ads, I made videos, and there was this one guy who I was like, I liked him. Like I kind of connected with him at one of the meetings. He was very conservative. I think he might have been like a, I don't know, Gen X guy, very articulate, really smart. I thought he had the right stance on the issues, right? But that only went so far. So one night we had this call in, and they have the Republican Party of the Hill Country, the Democratic Party of the Hill Country, and then they had like this Chamber of Commerce. So we had done the Chamber of Commerce call in, and I'd done really, really well. Like, you know, when you are in a situation, you feel like, man, I'm on, and I kind of killed it, right? And I kind of felt that way walking away from that. And maybe I did too well, because what happened was that when we did the Democratic Party call in, the same guy that I thought I was in good terms with, like, he's in front of me in the call-in queue. So he's calling in, and, you know, and he says, before he says anything, he says, before I say anything, there's one person that's running that you should not vote for. And I'm thinking, oh, fuck, it's going to be me. Right?
Yeah.
And he says, and it's Robert Phoenix. Because Robert Phoenix,
that scoundrel,
has a cult.
Whoa.
Congratulations.
Yeah, really. Robert Phoenix has a cult, and he's a Satanist, right? And then the Democratic Party, much to, I think, you know, I'll give them their due on this, they shut him down, right? So we're not going to talk about that right now. Why don't you just go ahead and, you know, give us your platform and answer our questions. In the meantime, I'm thinking, what the fuck am I going to say about this? Right? Do I defend myself? Do I let it go? Right? Like, I wasn't really prepared for it. I thought, I'm going to let it go. I'm not going to address it. I'm just going to do my thing. But it was really a very interesting kind of moment to, you know, deal with and kind of dance on your feet with. So the election comes around, and I didn't win. In fact, I knew who was going to win. We were driving to the polling place. It was a Saturday morning. And we were driving to the polling place, and I saw two signs for two of the candidates that were very disparate on this one lawn. And then I said, those two are going to win. I can tell you that right now. They're going to win because they're on that lawn together. And one of those candidates was kind of a very Obama-like person from Chicago, of all places. So I I lost the election, and then this guy, his name is James, he lost the election as well. And by the way, I looked at his chart, right? I found out what his birthday was, and I looked at his planets, and I thought he actually has a pretty impressive chart in some ways. Like, this is the way astrology is. Like I had every Russell Brand brings up certain feelings for certain people, right? When you say Russell Brand, it's kind of loaded. Oh, he's a scoundrel. He's a piece of shit. He's a con man. Oh, he's wonderful, beautiful. And I was kind of in the I don't trust this guy camp, but I still don't really trust him.
Yeah.
But when I looked at his chart, I had to admit this motherfucker has a good chart. Like you can see Russell Brand in his chart. He's got a grand trine, Neptune on the midheaven, which I think is a really interesting placement for Neptune, especially if it's more in the ninth house side of the midheaven. But anyway, I saw this guy's chart, and I thought, this guy's, he's got some juice, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, we both lose. And then I got a call about a week after the election. And it's him. He calls me up. And he says, hey, Robert, I just wanted to tell you that I thought you ran a really good election. And I was really impressed with what you did. And he's like, no problem, James. I appreciate that. And said, I'm really sorry you didn't win. I thought you would have been a good candidate. So it was a really interesting kind of full circle event.
And that was the guy who dissed you.
That's right. He called me up and he wanted to congratulate me. And I did run a good campaign. I took out I had an angel who was backing me. So I had these kick-ass full color ads in the newspaper where I superimposed my face over Sylvester Stallone's body in Rambo. and then I did another superimposition with my face with Clint Eastwood. And it was all tailored, right, in terms of the language that those guys would speak. But I would talk about the city and what we needed. And then the last one I was going to do, I got talked down from it. But the last one I was going to do was me with Charlton Heston from the 10 Commandments. And I was going to have my platform on the tablets for the 10 Commandments, right? Thinking that, religious Fredericksburg would just, be all over it.
Yeah.
But I toned that one down a little bit. But it was interesting to come full circle. And then, in fact, this is the sort of the epilogue here. He ran again, and I didn't. And he barely lost in this next election. I think it was about 2 years after that. And somebody from the city council was stepping down, and so they needed a replacement. And there were a group of people there who wanted this guy James to be on the city council, particularly because from a voting position, he was one just outside of getting elected. So I actually went to the city council meeting, and I went there, and I actually sat fairly close to him, and then went up to the mic and made a pitch for this guy to be a city council member. So, he didn't get it, but it wasn't like it was, it wasn't being performative, but I did feel that he would be a really good candidate, even though he theoretically character assassinated me. I didn't really care. At the end of the day, I think it was just basically, good for a human story anyway.
So do you think you rubbed off on him a little bit? You think you made him have a little bit more of an open mind with astrologers, or is he...
I'd like to think he left that experience with more of an open mind to humanity.
Yeah,
not just astrologers. His wife would go onto Facebook and go on these rants about me on Facebook, and then people would defend me on Facebook against his wife, who I, by the way, had a very nice conversation with one day in the checkout line at the grocery store before all this happened, and told her how much I really thought well of James and hoped to be very successful. And I was very kind, and that was true. It wasn't like I was just blowing smoke up her ass. But it's a really interesting part of the human condition where programming gets in the way. And when we talk about spirituality, spirituality exists outside of programming, and people get locked into their religious prejudices or fallacies, and they can't move beyond them.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that maybe at the end of the day, he may have felt somewhat different. Who knows?
And if you ever get a hold of him again, okay, make sure he tunes into one of me and Merlin's shows where we're explaining how astrology was there all along in the Bible, not created by the devil, not created by the fallen angels, not created by none of that. There since the very beginning, before the Garden of Eden, the signs were created and all that. So at the end of the day, a lot of times the people who are most fervent and, superstitious or just, oh, that's all evil, that's all, fallen angel, taboo, very often they're the ones not reading their Bible at all, really, because they don't see the evidence or the clue.
Yeah, well, they're reading it, but not with eyes to see, right? I mean,
right.
They're probably reading an annotated version of the Bible anyway. But just go over here to the footnotes on the side.
Not the King James, I can tell you that.
No, they're reading their good old Schofield Bible, probably in most senses, especially here in Texas. But when people ask me what I do, I either go one or two ways. What do you think I do? And I don't know. I think you might have been in computers or something, right? Or I'll say, I'm like a coach. That's what I do. I help people.
I was just gonna say that.
Nice.
Well, you said coach. I was gonna guess like keyboardist in a rock band.
Well, that's good.
Like a big rock band, or like a tennis pro at like a big country club or something.
I'll have to use that. I'm a retired keyboardist from a rock band from the 70s.
Yeah.
And right now I'm just living off of my royalties and all the money I made from the cocaine trade.
Living the dream.
Back in the day. Yeah. So I get it. So I used to, when I lived in Austin, I don't live in Austin anymore. And when I lived in Austin, I thought, well, Austin's kind of a hip place. I can tell people I'm an astrologer in Austin. And I say, oh yeah, well, I'm an astrologer. Really? Where's your telescope? Do you go to UT? Do you use their telescope? No, that's an astronomer, right?
Right.
I'm a little bit different than that.
Isn't it awesome that astrology got locked in before astronomy? Because astronomy is like an insignificant by name. It's really just the naming of things. The astronomy, right? Logi, that's belief, but it's also logic and study and assigning meaning and exploring meaning. So astronomy got shafted with the
Enlightenment. The Enlightenment killed astrology.
Yeah.
Prior to that, they were more synergistic and two stalks of the same branch. Even though if you go back in time and you look at like Ptolemy and the Almagest, that's like a 4-part series, and then you have the Tetrabiblios, which is a lot smaller, and the Almagest is all astronomical, and then the Tetrabiblios is astrological. So for Ptolemy, the astronomical side was kind of his forte, and then the astrological side he built into it, but I'm not sure if he really understood that when he built into it would change astrology and the cosmology of astrology forever.
Yeah. Well, the point I'm trying to make is like, people think astrology is just about belief or like religious or something.
It's the logos. That's what it is.
Exactly. I mean, paleontology. I mean, that's a serious science. I don't think so, really. In some regards, a lot of fakery with the Dino boys, but paleontology. What other ologies are there?
Biology,
criminology. Exactly. So I mean, astrology is the original and the holistic representation of.
It is the logos, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're really getting at.
I drop livications with 199 I don't know where this is coming from. Maybe she's saying we should have been C-sectioned or something.
Sure. Yeah.
Pre-planned elective C-sections prevent brain damage.
Maybe an E
Damag.
might have sold that a little bit better.
Or was it ironic
Yeah.
leaving the E off?
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe that's the punchline.
Damag
Maybe.
damage.
Yeah.
And then no hilix. Is that a word? I don't know that word.
Yeah, Hillick is something.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
No hilix.
Maybe it's something. It's something I've heard it.
You
before.
sounded like you knew what it meant.
No, let's see.
That
what
was
it is.
impressive.
Oh, okay. It's material, hylic, of or pertaining to matter, corporeal.
Nice.
So no material people allowed, and he's in the Digiverse there in his little avatar. So it all comes full circle now.
All
We see
right.
you.
Thanks. Enjoy that super sticker. Don't smoke it all at once. And so, yeah. All right. Now let's get into some astronomical occurrences that are coming up. Okay. What's going on with these two meteor showers? Are either of you keeping up with these meteor showers?
Not with the meteor showers, no.
No, the meteor showers are not at the top of my observation list. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess there's the Delta Aquarids meteor shower.
Mhm.
July 28th is like the middle of that or something. And then there's the Perseid meteor shower.
Perseids they're pretty seasonal, right? They come around fairly
Mhm.
frequently.
Yeah.
August 12th to 13th.
Yeah.
Well, how about this? Robert, what do you think meteor showers are? You know, we don't have to do round Earth versus flat Earth, but
Yeah.
what are they? Are they energy? Are they divine? What do you think?
I really haven't spent a lot of time, reflecting on or studying meteor showers, to be honest with you. But I'll tell you this. One night I was in Northern California. It might have been around February. I remember it being cold. And I was with a group of people, and we'd all taken mushrooms. And we were on the side of this hill outside, crystal clear, blue night. And it was a meteor shower tour de force. And when I saw those meteors, it was incredible. It looked like some kind of impressionist painting going across the sky. And the only thing that I could really lock in on is that if I was like a, primal man or somebody that lived in a period of time where we didn't have all this electronic smog and the color spectrum was deeper and brighter, I would imagine that they might have had a similar experience to what I might have had. In that regard, the meteor shower for me was pure art, and it was amazement. And I felt like there was a great artist behind what I was seeing. And so that was just my personal experience with it. I didn't feel like it was ominous, and I didn't feel like it was, like a comet. Like back in the day, if there was a really significant comet, it scared the shit out of people, right?
Yeah.
And the Chinese would, bang their drums and cymbals and do all kinds of shit to scare it away. But conversely, the meteor shower, I would say, if I was using like a poetic allusion or allegory, felt like the tears of heaven or something like that. And it was, but not necessarily sad, maybe like tears of joy. That was my experience. So in terms of astrological or phenomenological, I don't know, that's first person.
Merlin, what are meteor showers?
That's a darn good question, man. I always try to rely on tradition in all of my astrological doings, essentially. And what the ancients thought about meteor showers was a few different things. The Greeks thought that certain meteor showers was like Hephaestus, the blacksmith of the gods, banging on the
Sparks.
firmament. Yeah, so there's all sorts of stuff like that that's just super cool. The fact that they occur with such regularity, and either way, whether you're globe or plane, it's like the design of it is nothing short of phenomenal. Like what you
Right.
see in the sky.
Absolutely.
So what are they? I've got no idea. I haven't read many books that put much significance on them in natal charts. However, when it comes to mundane stuff, like Robert said, I mean, comets, like the word ominous is ominous. They were quite the omen, and meteor showers are the same way. Some are good omens, some are bad omens, but regardless, they're a spectacle. If anything, I think more than anything.
100%. All right. Now, there's a solar eclipse on August 12th. That's true, Robert?
Yeah, that's right.
Now,
Yeah.
that's coinciding with the Perseid meteor shower. Any significance to that, or the eclipse by itself?
Well, eclipses are always God. There's such a handful of eclipses. I have always done my best to stay out of a fatalistic dance with eclipses, and I think like we were talking about the comets, that eclipses bring about the same kind of primordial terror that our ancestors would experience that with. And so I feel like just in our gene pool and also archetypally, whenever we hear eclipse, it just elicits, darkness and, you know, things that happen that are fatalistic and, for lack of a better term, really doomy. And so as an astrologer, I try to steer clear of those kinds of judgments, although sometimes you have to deal with the inevitable. And my experience with eclipses is that you do have to deal with the inevitable, that something does happen, something really significant can happen during an eclipse. And being literally born on an eclipse, my mother went into labor on an eclipse. So I was born just after the eclipse on the autumnal equinox in 1960. For me personally, I've always felt that my life has been eclipsed and that people don't really see me in a lot of ways. And it's been an interesting journey kind of through that and realizing that, for instance, a lot of the things that people are, really hot on the internet, YouTube, TikTok, conspiracy wise, or, occult decoding. I've been talking about this for years. Like I started talking about this stuff in the 2010s, and I had a bit of an audience then, but nothing like the social media explosion now. So in that regard, when I see people talking about Dave McGowan and what went down in Laurel Canyon, like shit, I was talking about that years ago. And all of a sudden, it's like the gospel. It's the Bible of the 1960s and MK Ultra. So there's a there. I think with eclipses, Donald Trump, obviously born on a lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, and I believe he was born on a blood moon too, if I'm not mistaken. Very, very unique birth marker. And on an emotional level, right? If you take this idea that the moon is a kind of a transmitter of emotion, and that the eclipse means that his emotions are occulted, but you can't really see behind sort of the dark veil. I think he's actually really good at taking advantage of something like that. You could call it playing poker or having a poker face or, you know, throwing out, all these hand grenades, in a room or in
Yeah.
a negotiation, but it's all hidden. Like
It's kind of like a almost like Gemini squared, because the eclipse also has that element of like multiple faces, right?
yeah,
A
yeah,
mask, a lens, you
yeah,
know.
Yeah. So on a like a societal level or mundane level or what we're dealing with, yeah. So if we go to August 12th, it's our first eclipse in the Leo Aquarius cycle,
Hmm.
and if we look at the traditional sort of interpretation of Leo, what are we talking about? We're talking about royalty, bloodlines, kings, queens, hierarchies, traditional power from another time, right? And so, how I would look at this, especially kind of where we are with the outer planets now, is I would look at this eclipse as being almost an unmasking in some ways of these older power structures. Like today, we were watching YouTube, and I was watching Erling Haaland's channel. Love that guy, by the way. He's amazing.
Erling Haaland has his own channel.
Yes, he's got
Okay.
a channel on YouTube, millions of subscribers,
Nice.
and so it's the last of his like videos from the U.S. in the World Cup. So he flies back to Norway, and he's going to meet the King of Norway. So he and the players walk into this room. I guess it's in some palace or something. And so the first person you see is the King of Norway, and then I guess his family or whatever next to him. And the one thing I noticed is that he was in a chair, but he wasn't in like a normal chair. He was in a chair that he was sort of half sitting and half standing in some ways. And I said, that guy can't stand up. There's a reason why he's in that chair, and he doesn't look like he's a fossil or anything. It's like that guy can't stand up. Like if you take that chair away, that dude is gonna collapse. He's gonna fall down. And when I think of this eclipse in Leo, that image comes to my mind, and that whether it's the emperor has no clothes or whether the king of Norway has no legs to stand on, that's what it feels like to me. And when you go around the chart and get into Pluto and Aquarius, which by the way, even though it's retrograde, man, it is coming on. Let me tell you, this Pluto and Aquarius, and the Barball basket, right? Like we'll probably talk about that, but aside from that,
I wanted to ask you about Barball's.
but this Pluto and Aquarius, man, dude.
We'll hold off on the basket. We'll get into that.
Let me just talk a little bit about Pluto and Aquarius, though, because you'll like this, right? One of the symbols of Aquarius is the eagle, right? It's the eagle. And what is taking place now? Perhaps it's not the best bird to use an example, but people are going after these flock cameras, right? They are taking down the flock.
I like that. Flock surveillance, very Aquarian. And for those who may be thinking, oh, I thought Scorpio's the eagle or hawk, or Jupiter sometimes the eagle. Well, if you've ever heard the word aquiline, Robert just gave you the explanation for that. Aquiline meaning eagle-esque, eagle-like, and eagle too. If you really want to twist it, Aquel and Eagle are really not that far off from each other either. But
isn't the constellation Aquila in Scorpio?
Is it?
Or near Scorpio?
Well, it's interesting. The alchemical dance between Scorpio and Aquarius is really interesting.
Now, I think that's because of Uranus, personally, because Uranus, rules Aquarius.
Yeah,
I think it exalts in Scorpio. That's my opinion.
That's an interesting. Uranus. Yeah, that's an interesting take.
That's where, to me, Scorpio has this genius. To me, Uranus / Janus is the genius planet, innovation, inventiveness, all that. And I see this Uranian influence in Scorpio, which, going with the the wordplay, it's a little silly, but Uranus, urine, Scorpio.
I love that. That's great.
And Uranus is the janitor, and
Yeah.
Scorpio rules the bathroom. So
Yeah. Yeah. The Mexican flag, if you ever look at the Mexican flag, it's an eagle with a snake in its talons. So you have the serpent and the eagle. And if you combine the two, right, the serpent is at the base of the Kundalini, it's at the base of the spine, and then the crown is the eagle, right? And so the two signs have a very interesting relationship with each other. And there's a tune by Joni Mitchell. It's called Don
12,
Juan's
12 abortions and
no. It's called
5,000 miles later. Is that what the song's called?
No, Don Juan's Reckless Daughter.
Okay.
And she does this like meditation between the serpent and the eagle in the song. And it's really fascinating. She's a Scorpio, right? So I think she has a little bit of insight. If you want to look at like an alchemical exposition of serpent and eagle, Don Juan's Reckless Daughter is really, really good. So aside from their 10 abortions and
well, no, okay. In her defense, she's famous for not getting an abortion, but being really pro-abortion because of it. She's like, "Oh, I definitely should have gotten those abortions." Joni Mitchell had, I think, at least one child, or maybe multiple.
She has a daughter. I think she has a daughter, from what I know.
But I think it was very early on. I think before she was totally famous, and she went out touring and stuff, and the daughter was sometimes nowhere to be seen. But
often the case with rock stars.
She's famous for saying she was adamant about no abortion, but now I think she's really pro-abortion and often says, "Oh, I wish I got one."
Yeah. So Joni Mitchell, got hammered with Morgellons, and really fucked her up.
Like that mysterious mold.
Well, yeah, it's like you've got like
nanotech
fibers coming out of your skin and stuff like that, and brain fog, debilitation, and so she got sidelined with that in a really, really big way. And
I left that comment on screen for too long. Guy, whatever you're worked up about, go watch our Bible and astrology streams that Merlin and I have done. If you're hung up on that, maybe that video would be better suited for you right now. Then you can come back to this one, because the Bible does condemn astrologers in some instances. It condemns a whole lot of other things too that are at other times in the Bible, promoted in our normal place. So you got to use context, and you got to see the trajectory of the Bible. But yeah, we don't promote relying on astrology or replacing God with astrology. Okay. But it's not really our job to catch you up on that. We've already covered it. So, but all right.
We're all wearing black tonight. I just noticed that.
I think not really. You're wearing like charcoal. This is like a little bit bluish, and I think Merlin's got like a maroon shirt on.
Yeah, it's like dark red. I'm just in a very dark room.
So we're in dark mode tonight.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, Robert. I'm pretty colorblind myself, believe it or not. I can't see. I can't distinguish between orange and pink, and also like navy and black. Really hard time distinguishing.
You're pretty good with charcoal.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's not charcoal. Just looks like it. But my grandpa was full-blown colorblind, so I must have inherited a little bit of colorblindness.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I know an orange when I see one. I know what oranges look like, so we're all good. But all right, since we covered that stuff, what the heck is Barnbalt's basket, and is that even the right? What is that even the right pronunciation?
It's Barbal, I believe. Barbeau, he's French astrologer.
It's damn French.
Yeah. I think he passed away, what, 2021? Is that right? It's been.
Oh, is he recent?
Yeah, I think he passed away in
I thought
2021.
Jean Barbeau was like a famous painter. I thought that was the same guy.
I don't
French
think so.
painter from the 1700s.
This guy was able to go back. He's a modern.
He died in 2019.
2019.
Yeah, 1921 to 2019. A good long life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he was he's all about like cycles and mundane astrology, and he looked at this alignment that we have right now and it all lined up once Jupiter went into Leo. So when you look at the outer planets, what you have is a series of sextiles and trines with the outer planets, and when they put them together, it looks just those outer planets. They look like a basket, right?
Okay.
That's why it's called. Now, that's not to be confused with a basket chart, which astrologically is half of the zodiac, either horizontally or vertically. That's a different basket. This is referring to this part, sans the inner planets, which are doing something different, right? So the outer planets theoretically are much more involved in pieces of long time and the influence on culture.
Yes.
So this is what he's referring to, and he went back into certain periods of history to find examples of the Barbeau basket and what those things looked like in terms of mundane events that were taking place in the world. And so his prediction was that this alignment would be the beginning and a catalyst of a new time. So to give you a recent example, when the Berlin Wall fell, there was a version of the Barbeau basket.
Mm.
Right. So, but what's interesting about that is that people automatically assume that the falling of the Berlin Wall initiated a, much more harmonic time, the realignment of the West, a country being rejoined. But the downstream effects of that moment are pretty considerable. First of all, the integration between East Germany and West Germany was not as cohesive as people understand, because the East Germans were at a pretty severe disadvantage than their West German counterparts, who had been in the West and had, experience and resources. And, they were way behind the starting line. And there was to some degree, not always like blending and, like, okay, well, we have this kind of forced marriage again. And that's just in Germany alone. But when you do that, right, because it coincides, like the fall of the Berlin Wall also coincides with the end of communism. And everybody thinks, well, this is great, right? Like, communism's dead, the West is won. But you could make a very strong case that the military industrial complex needed something else. Well, why not the war on terror? We've got to have something else to engage, Rand and Lockheed and all, like,
Right.
So
Feed the beast.
So the downstream effect of something like the Barbeau basket, which coincides with the fall of the wall, which is like, hey, we're partying, right? The downstream effect doesn't always turn out that way. So yes, this could facilitate something really interesting, and that we get like turned on or ignited or whatever this. Sometimes there's even a mundane event that can match this, but we're never really sure how it turns out. Give it like 2 or 3 years, and we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see what takes place.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Now, what about CERN turning off? Was there any signs that was going to happen? Can we trace or track that at all with any astrological movements?
Well, I think it's really interesting that it kind of coincides with the arrival of Jupiter in Cancer, Leo. Like if we're looking at something that happens kind of in the same time space envelope, it's Jupiter and Leo, right? So Jupiter had been in Cancer for the previous year, and man, let me tell you something about Jupiter and Cancer. So a little over a year ago in Kerrville, where I live, we had this devastating flood, really devastating flood.
Yep.
And
I was in town, believe it or not.
So when you look, and I broke this down, when you look at where Jupiter was at that time, Jupiter was, I think, right around maybe 16 degrees, which put it conjunct the sun, which made it conjunct Sirius. All three of those were conjunct. And back in the day before they built the Aswan Dam, right, heliacal Sirius would signal the flooding of the Nile. It was a very significant time in terms of the seasonal cycle. Well, just because they create the Aswan Dam, it doesn't mean that they stop this power, right? So water. Sirius is at the same degree as the U.S. sun based on the July 4th chart. So when you look at all that, man, like heavy duty deluge between those three planets, or fixed star in those planets. A little over a year later, just this last week, oh, guess what? We have the sun in Cancer, we have Mercury in Cancer retrograde, just coming out of a new moon in Cancer, and boom, a little over a year later, we have another deluge, right? But as far as relating Jupiter and Leo to the switching off of CERN, I would think that you'd have to go to the opposite sign, which would be Aquarius. And I think of CERN as being very Aquarian in a lot of ways, right? Like it's like science, it's technology. They're theoretically playing with time, space, matter. If you go back to Aquarius and its original resting point, Saturn was the ruler of Aquarius. Saturn rules time, right? And to some degree space. So the negative space of Jupiter and Leo, as it's been affected by Aquarius as part of that axis, I think is meaningful. So what does it mean for society? We can debate that, we can discuss it, we can throw it out there. I still feel like this Jupiter Leo transit is incredibly significant because, number one, if you take into account this eclipse that we talked about, which happens also in Leo, and it's eclipsing this idea of royalty and stratified divine power and hierarchies and things like bloodlines and black families, whatever, right? That there's something about that eclipse that exposes it in some ways. Meanwhile, Jupiter in Leo, I feel, acts as like an accelerant, and there's almost like a shift between one paradigm and this new paradigm that's emerging. And you can't disassociate from Aquarius as well. And I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but it seems like once they theoretically shut down CERN, the weather got fucking wacky too, right? Like things really started to go kind of full tilt, and not just with floods, but like California was really hot, like incredibly hot for California, very humid, and then we have these fires that are coming down from Canada, which may or may not be the byproduct of weather, but it's clearly carried south on weather fronts and affecting. So it's like the meteorological, well, speaking of meteors, right? The meteorological world kind of, went rogue. It seems like when CERN stopped. Have you guys noticed that? Did you make any correlation with that?
Not with CERN, but it's been hot though.
Right? Yeah.
Here we go. Well, and now Merlin, same question. I know you're not the biggest fan of using the outer planets, but do you have any opinion on Barball's basket? And if not, then what are you looking to in these coming weeks, months, astrologically?
No opinion on the basket, but what I'm looking, dude. Can I share my screen real quick? Is that
Of course?
Cool? I've got this pulled up. Not that, but this. Check out this picture I took. This was last night.
Is it Venus?
Oh, hold on. Oh, whoops. Yeah, it is Venus. It's Venus and the moon, though. My bad. I wasn't sharing my screen. I'm like, Longo, what are you doing?
Hell yeah, man.
Me. There we go. Sorry about that.
Show us your Venus.
You'll see Venus and the moon right here. It's just so sick, man. This is just a camera picture, and it's just barely visible there on the bottom right. You got just the camera doesn't do it justice, man. Just the most beautiful crescent moon, Venus right up there. But the reason I bring this up, guys, is that right now Venus is far enough away from the sun to be visible after sunset, but not yet going retrograde. So for the next month, maybe month and a half, is the best Venus viewing at sunset that you will get for the next 5 years minimum. So, because it's like, this is like a great time of the year to be outside at the sunset, obviously. And, being awake at sunset is much easier than sunrise. So when it comes to looking at Venus with your own two eyes, it doesn't get better than right now, guys. And it's just so beautiful in the sky. Like the last couple of nights, Venus is in Virgo right now. The moon's transiting Virgo. It's about to ingress into Libra here in a second. So yeah, just look. You can look at Venus just right after sunset. Venus will be the brightest thing in the sky. You'll think like, oh my gosh, is that a satellite? No, it's freaking Venus. And yeah, just the significance of how bright that planet is. You can see why they called it Lucifer, the light bringer, after she retrograded, because it's that bright. Like, how like the moon gives off luminosity beyond just like its orb, like you just see like fucking light come off the moon, right? When Venus is setting, when Venus is like at the horizon setting and it's dark right now, it's giving off that same type of luminosity. So it's just like super cool. If you see what's going on, I don't know, I think it's just fucking sick, man. So that's what I'm looking at for the next month and a half or whatever. That's on my radar astrologically.
Now,
how do you feel about it in Virgo? Because I think that it's pretty interesting that we have this almost like full frontal nudity of Venus, and it's also in the sign Virgo. What's your feeling about that?
Yeah, Venus in her fall is interesting. What do you mean by full frontal nudity?
Does Venus
I mean, it's like clearly it's out there, it's visible, right?
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and that's what's so cool. That's a really good way to put it, because it always does this too. Because like people know the Venus cycle is 8 years total, but Venus, when she goes retrograde, she starts, but she ends up in typically 5 signs, and this time she's going to retrograde into Libra, her domicile. So yeah, the fact that she's going this, like she's naked and exposed in Virgo before she retrogresses into Libra, is pretty freaking cool. And yeah, just Venus in Virgo is fascinating. Just any planet in its fall. And Longo, you were going to ask, does Venus fall in Virgo?
Yeah, I thought Scorpio is Venus's fall.
Her detriment.
Her
fall is opposite exaltation. So she exalts, So yeah, it's just a different ability, so it's the same. How dare you? Different ability. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, just like exalted fall, like high low.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other will be detriment, and then So
that's why we have these guys on, man. Good
detriment versus dignity, That's what.
Yeah,
That's what you'll-
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So, well,
And Venus in Virgo is also very much like the Virgin, right? Like Mary, and not just it's very chaste in a lot of ways and pure, right? And again, the opposite sign is Pisces, so it's also very much connected to the Godhead on the other side of it, ruled by Neptune. I think it's an interesting placement, especially as we have the moon moving into Virgo. So we have the double feminine. I like that.
Yeah. And that's interesting too, because Venus, Venus falling in Virgo is just interesting because Virgo obviously associated with virginity and Venus femininity, right? So like the female is falling when she's like there's that loss of innocence, right? Like the losing of the virginity. That's like literally the fall. That's why Virgo is before the fall. It's on the verge of the fall.
Yeah.
So it's just so fascinating that the female in the sky like falls from girlhood into womanhood, and like you're saying, the moon's right there, co-present. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, guys, before we get too far away from this, the eclipse talk, I want to share a cool little story. So recently, I've been working on this Jewish Pirates of the Caribbean, releasing it.
I saw that. It was really interesting.
Releasing it chapter by chapter. It's also, that book is it is now our top selling book at the bookstore. We sell out of it every single week.
Whoa.
It sells itself right off the table. People walk by it and see it. And that book has so much good gravy in it. Guys, make sure to get that book after you get Robert Phoenix's copy. Drop it in the shop. Drop it in the basket on Amazon. All right. Drop it in your Barball's basket, shopping basket at your Amazon checkout. But there's a great story in there. One of Columbus's patrons was Abraham Zacuto. And he wasn't so much a financial backer as he was a technological contributor. He would Abraham Zacuto, this famous Jewish astronomer, astrologer, Kabbalist, genius guy, whether you like him or not. But he is the one who came up with all the astronomical charts and what would the word be? Like a day by day astronomical calendar, pretty much. There's a better word for that. That a sailor would have, to let him know about different astronomical, things that he should be aware of. And Columbus's were written by this guy, Zacuto. And without those charts, Columbus would have had a much harder time getting from point A to point B. But something really interesting in those charts was Zacuto went ahead and marked the beginning and end of every single solar and lunar eclipse for the next, 10 years or so. And Columbus was equipped with that when he set off into
he fucked with those Indians, didn't he?
Yeah.
I know this story.
Yep. And he did it at least once, some say twice.
Yeah.
He stole the moon from the Indians. He waited for an eclipse, and he told them, in 3 days, if you don't give me what I want, food, gold, women, whatever.
Yeah.
If you don't give me what I want, I'm going to steal your moon, and you're never going to get it back.
Yeah.
And the eclipse comes. The people say, oh, you're full of shit, The eclipse comes, and the Indians are shocked. They're terrified.
Yeah.
The eclipse occurs, and they go running to get all the goods that he wants and hand them over to Columbus. And Columbus says, all right, fine. I'll tell the moon to come back. I'll tell the sun to stop. And that's how he pulled one over on the Indians somewhere in the Caribbean. and there's some cool,
I
paintings.
remember hearing that story, and I thought that was one sly son of a bitch, man. He pulled that out of his back pocket.
Can
Yep,
I comment on that from a critical point of view, if you don't mind?
totally.
So, like, there's obviously some irregularities with the Columbus story in general, right? And like, the Collins family, and then the fact that we have the District of Columbia and stuff like that, right? It's very like Illuminati esque, right?
Mhm.
But and like, you think about that story, right? Okay, so he goes to the Indians and tricks them and says, "I'm going to steal your moon." Sounds like a good story, but if you think about it, like, have the Indians never seen an eclipse before? Like, have they? And like, what I think the purpose of the story might be is to paint them in such a way, like, oh, these savages couldn't even understand eclipses. They don't know that they're not smart like us. Whereas, they have all these tons of mounds all
Yeah.
over Eastern North America that are astronomically oriented. So
Yep.
it's like, did he like? How often? I'm just like, I'm not trying to shit on your story, because it's either way, it's a fucking good story. But it's like, is that like, trying to just get people off the scent of?
Hey,
Go ahead.
I wouldn't put it past them. They did that with tobacco and Pocahontas. They wrote the English wrote the Spanish straight out of history, and they hijacked the Pocahontas story to take credit for the cultivation of tobacco. The English, if you guys haven't seen my video on it, things like that do happen. Now, Merlin, I think this really did happen. We can debate it a little, but you're not wrong for asking that question, because they did just that in Florida for sure, at least once. Um, and
So maybe
well,
they had seen it, but the timing of it.
yeah, they didn't know when. They did not. You're right, Merlin. If we're talking about the southeastern mound builder culture, like, yeah, they knew what was up. They had cities. They had astronomy. They had philosophers. They had
They was Kangs, yeah.
high society in the
This
southeast,
case.
in the high society in the southeast United States. But these are more just like scattered islander people who were in a constant state of canoe warfare and like enslaving each other. They
Okay.
didn't really have much civilization
They were
in the
tropical trash, is really what you're saying.
They were Puerto Ricans, okay. uh, but
So I think the
sorry,
timing.
Juan.
He
Sorry,
was the
Juan.
master of the timing, right? He's like, snatch the moon on demand. My favorite depiction of an eclipse is in Apocalypto. You guys seen Apocalypto?
Yes.
Mm-mm.
Great.
And that's
Good movie.
and the scene on the temple, right? And even the foreshadowing with the crazy young girl, in the jungle, who basically is talking about the coming of the eclipse. I love that movie, by the way. I think it's amazing.
Mhm. That I like that movie. There's a great meme going around since Mel Gibson's doing the new Jesus movie. He's got some other project, and people say, "Oh, he's so based." The media says Mel Gibson racist, racist, racist. But then they're saying, so the meme is basically, it's like Christopher Nolan, uh, Hollywood's golden boy. The media loves him, all that. He caters to all the leftist problems. But then also, and so they call him like groundbreaking. He's inclusive. He reworked the Odyssey to be inclusive, right? He's a good guy. And then you've got Mel Gibson over here, the alleged ultra racist, ultra anti-Semitic, whatever. But let's look at these two movies. Mel Gibson made an entire movie in the Maya language, like a nearly
Yep.
extinct dialect, and hired only native actors with only this and that. It doesn't glorify the Spanish really at all, barely at all. And then you look at Christopher Nolan, who, sure, he puts a black woman in the lead role, but not a single indigenous Greek in the entire movie.
Good point.
It's robbed of its Greekness. And so who's the real, who's really disrespecting cultures there?
Great point. Great point. Yeah. No, what's interesting about Nolan and Mel Gibson is that Mel Gibson is a Capricorn. And even though Christopher Nolan is a Leo, his moon is in Cancer. So you have this interesting, like I'm really fascinated by oppositions and axis, right? So to your point, Longo, that Cancer moon, right? It's the Cancer moon, which is telling the story of Odysseus as a woman, right? That's like very Cancer moony. And then on the other side, you have Gibson with his sun in Capricorn, who will go to whatever lengths necessary, which is a very Capricornian trait, to produce something that looks realistic and more or less follows a particular script or narrative. So I think that's really fascinating in terms of these two characters. And I think you can clearly see it in their filmmaking style. I mean, even turning Oppenheimer into like a fucking ladies' man or something, right? Like, with the moon in Cancer, that's part of it. So yeah, man. Yeah, interesting stuff.
I agree with you completely, bro, about axes and astrology. Like they're the most fascinating thing. Like as you grow your astrological knowledge, you can only talk about Aries so much. But then the Aries Libra axis, then you can get into some real depth and nuance, and it just gets really cool, I think.
Yeah. Man, those are some great linguistic diving boards too. Is the axis opens up a whole new branch of this word, splits off into that word. Like Aries Libra, sword. There's an Aries Libra axis word to a T. You've got the sword, Aries, the assaulting knight with the
it's martial for sure.
The frontal attack. And then Libra, you've got words and writing and books, and the wordsmith, that is, Shakespeare, that's your sword, so
the pen is mightier than the sword, right? I mean,
bingo.
And I think the tarot card, the Justice, which represents Libra, has a sword.
Absolutely.
Tarot card.
And also cutting. You guys will like this. So Libra is all about it's like when I think of Libra, I think of marriage, court, and like marriage, law, and like tailoring, like fashion, like
okay.
Well, this is why I love the words chords. Think about all the phonemes from chords. The court system, courts, chords. When you get married, you tie the knot.
Right.
Tie the knot, right? Quartz crystal, because Libra is all about translucence and, light, false light, even too, like glass, glimmer, gleam, glow, all those glow words go to Libra too. But yeah. All right. I forgot what I was talking about.
Oh, dude. I don't know why. Dude, you said chords. I thought of music. Okay. Libra's this. I'm going schizo for a second. Libra's the 7th sign. There are how many notes in music? 7. Dude, there are fucking 7 notes and 5 flats, right?
Okay.
Well, 7 notes is the 7 domiciles traditionally. But then who doesn't have 2 domiciles? The sun and moon. So all the flats, the domiciles of the planets. So it's like total astrological correspondence completely with that. But yeah, no, you said chord and I thought music, and oh shit, Libra's 7, which is there are 7 notes. So yeah.
And then also kurz, kurz in German means cut short, or to curtail. What's the English root there I'm looking for? Court is like it's basically ties into tailoring, like cutting things short, or man, what's the word?
Well, Kurt, you're Kurt with somebody.
Be curt,
Yeah.
rude.
No, someone in the chat's gonna say it. Someone in the chat. What's the
Bro.
word I'm looking for?
Cordial?
No, it has to do with like tailoring or like shaping clothes. Whatever. All right. But
Couture. Somebody says couture.
couture.
Thank you, Paula.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, couture. Yeah.
So yeah, all the Libra with the cutting and the tying. Libra is all about ligature too, like things being tied up. That's that Saturnian element.
Mhm.
Venus and Saturn coming together. You get vines. Like BDSM is very Saturnian, but it's
Dude,
also
extremely.
also Venusian. Kind of a Libra thing. But yeah,
And
that's Lucifer.
Saturn's exalted in Libra too.
Mm-hmm.
So one sign where Saturn feels at home and it works. And yeah,
totally.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think we could dance in the center of these axes, and we could probably go all night and do word association, and a lot of them are really valid and interesting, and opens up a whole other lexicon of how to work with astrology. And I think that's really exciting, that yes, it's a system that we've had for a very long time, but new minds and fresh minds are always encountering it, and every now and then pulling out new threads from a very old tapestry. So it's kind of a living science. It's a living art that and Gen Z loves astrology, man. Like millennials like astrology too.
Yeah,
they got a little bit of a different relationship with it. But
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, they just do, right? Like, so it's just it's different. What are they into? They're into the Hellenist. A lot of millennials are into Hellenistic astrology.
This guy right here, kind of.
Yeah.
Merlin's a little bit
Hellenistic astrologer.
Hellenistic.
Yeah. So that's what I've noticed. And it depends on where you land in there. And some people that are Hellenistic astrologers have, I would say, a more occult relationship with astrology, and they actually use it to perform rituals, tying, acts of magic, things like. Is that where you go with it, Merlin, or are you more using Hellenistic astrology for sort of like baseline interpretations and things like that?
Both baseline interpretations and then astrological magic, talismanic crafting, all that stuff.
Right,
I'm super into all that.
That's totally sidereal. That's a big sidereal kind of sub narrative.
Okay. Man, I just forgot what question I was going to ask.
Are you millennial, Merlin? How old are you?
Yeah, I just turned 38, man. I was born in 88.
Yeah. So there you go. You're in the mix. Exactly.
Yeah.
Not to put you in a bucket, but I think you're a representation of what I was talking about.
Yeah, I'm dead center millennial. So yeah.
Then we got Mr. Gen Z down there.
Yeah.
Well, my brother always tries to tell me I'm a millennial because maybe I seem maybe I seem like an older generation just to him, but I'm Gen Z for sure. I feel Gen Z, but yeah. You're
like elder Gen Z because you're not a Zoomer. You're not fucking like 20, 19 years old anymore. Longo. Yeah. You're getting up there, Longo, but you're still a young lad.
Hey, still in my 20s.
Are you hitting your Saturn return?
Yeah, I will through the. I mean, yeah, I'm into it. I'm not over it, but I'm 29 right now, so.
And then you
29 and a half.
Speaking of Libra, you tied the knot in your Saturn return, didn't you?
Oh yeah, we're not.
Oh,
not announcing
is that verboten? Oh,
No, we're not. That's all
Mercury
right.
retrograde. Sorry.
We're not announcing that yet.
All right. My bad.
Yeah.
Just rewind that, and
Yeah, don't worry. I'll have my team in the Philippines cut that out.
They'll hit it up
Hey,
post.
speaking of Mercury retrograde, I gotta bring this up and
Sure.
want to throw this out there to you guys. I just find Mercury retrograde periods fascinating, right? There's so much exposition with Mercury retrogrades, and the the headline Mercury retrograde talking point is Trump and his administration and the entire machine behind him, with one voice, all chanting simultaneously, communism, right? That is such a fucking Mercury retrograde trope for many reasons. Number one, it goes back to a time in Donald Trump's life where his best buddy, pal, life coach, mentor, Roy Cohn, was on the House of Un-American Activities. It was the lead counsel for that group going after communists, right? And it's like, oh, that's really interesting. Trump is going back in time and then latching on to the boogeyman in the playbook, and the very same people we were talking about that existed prior to the fall of the wall. So here we are coming to this Barbeau basket thing, which happens at the same time at the fall of the Soviet Union and theoretically the end of communism. And now the main talking point of this administration is commie, 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 commie chameleons. And it's also very Cancerian, because when we talk about Cancer, what are we talking about? We're talking about like defending our turf, right? Cancer is a very conservative sign. We're going to lock down. We're going to make sure that these commies don't get in here, right? We're going to lock down the voting process.
Concern is a pretty Cancer word, to be concerned.
CERN is Cancer for sure. You ever look at CERN?
Concern. Yeah, CERN too. Yeah, there's something there.
But all of a sudden, these commie talking points, it's like Stephen Miller sat down with them and said, we're going to start talking about communism. We got to get people's minds off of Iran. We got to get the minds off of Israel. Let's talk communism. And that's not to say that communism isn't an issue, right? We're watching what's happening in New York, and I think that most people are not really into that form of influence and governance, whatever, right? Or China. But man, Mercury retrograde, Cancer, going way back in time, communism. And it's really like, if you look at where the sun is right now, it is in Trump's 11th house, and he's got a Saturn-Venus conjunction in Cancer. So number one, the sun is illuminating his 11th house and his ability in some ways to sound like an authority, because ultimately that's what he's trying to do. But also with Mercury retrograde, also in his 11th house, and he has Mercury in Cancer as well, that it's pointing back to another time, an older time where these kinds of fears were elicited, and I think with some degree of concern, right? That they were. But I just think it's fascinating. This is going on, and anyway, I always like watching people say certain things in the mainstream, or even stuff like sports. Sports can be very revealing with a Mercury retrograde. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up and want to see if you guys had any thoughts about that, or even this Mercury retrograde in Cancer, and how you would interpret it, or what it means to you, or how you feel about it.
Totally. Give me one sec. Trendy now Are you Mike? Are you the golfing guy? If so, I forgot to send you the picture that we took. Or I didn't get your contact info. So DM me on Instagram so I can get it to you if you're still looking for that. Merlin, you want to
Just to comment on your story, man, it's so crazy how not even just the administration, but just the political elite in every country, the way they distract from whatever is angering the people is they create another problem or point toward another problem, which just shows there are so many fucking problems. But like, has it always been like that, or is this a new phenomenon where people just are? Things feel so doom and gloom. Like even mentioning the CERN shutoff thing, maybe it's just me, but it feels like for the past year, people have been like waiting for the other, what is it, the other shoe to drop, the other foot to drop, something like that.
Longer than that, my friend. Longer than that.
I have always seen there's this correlation between not having kids and thinking the world is ending.
Interesting.
Like, the more people don't have, and I don't know what's the chicken or the egg or what's the front end of that, but people who don't have kids are far more likely to think the world is ending in a terrible way, because they are, in a sense, they're conceptualizing, they're coming to terms with the fact that they are ending, they are coming to a close. There is no future for them. They will not persist right through their offspring. And I think people are always really blind to that, how that bleeds into your philosophy, your outlook on life. It's not everyone, and I don't have kids yet. That's not it's not a rule of thumb or anything, but I've noticed, just zooming out, the more people don't have kids or don't start families early, what is there to look forward to? Anything on the news is going to be met with, oh shit, I don't have my shit together, we're all fucked. It's like, What do you think?
Well, since I've been around this space for quite a few years, I can look back when I grew up, like in the 1960s and the 1970s, and my experience of the 1960s was that we had Vietnam, which went on for an incredible amount of time. I remember watching it on TV when I was around 6 years old, and it doesn't end until I'm in middle school. I mean, just think about that. And it's a lot of TV coverage. So there was this major issue that was happening for what seemed to be an eternal period. But then they have these other things in the 60s that were also happening and coming up as well. The 60s were really explosive. So is it something new that we're getting all of these distractions happening at once? Not necessarily. I mean, even in the 70s, like for me growing up in Northern California, man, shit was weird. Like we had the Zodiac Killer, we had Patty Hearst, we had Jim Jones and the People's Temple. Like, man, I mean, it was going snap, crackle, and pop. I used to walk home from school looking around to see if the Zodiac Killer was, peering out of some window somewhere.
Wow.
So I feel like we've always had a version of this reality. The difference now is that we have this force multiplier with social media, which has just exploded everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel like, and I think you can probably comment on this, Longo, is that people are losing their footing. Like they're losing their ability to deal with whatever version of reality is coming at them. And so I just want to touch on the outer planets for just a second, because the outer planets, like if you were to look at the chart now, the only Earth that we have in the chart is Venus at the south node. That is it, right? That's it. And we won't have any outer planet Earth until Jupiter goes into Virgo, which is mutable anyway, right? And also in its detriment, Jupiter and Virgo, if I'm not mistaken. And right, what do we have? We've got all these planets on the outer part of the wheel, fire and air. It's all combustible. There's nothing for people to hold on to right now. Right, we don't get any major Earth until Saturn and Taurus in 2030. So long ago, you had an event like some woman came into your bookstore, kind of lost her cookies, right? Recently, is that right?
Yeah, it was a guy.
The guy.
Yeah, it was a younger guy. You know, to your point too about like losing footing for so long. The difficulty was finding the truth. Was, you know, man, one day if I'm lucky enough to enter the archives, enter the university, and get access to those reading materials, then I'll know the truth, you know. Or if one day I'll meet the right master to teach me, you know. Today, it's such a cacophony. Today, it's not about finding the truth. Today, it's sorting everything out. It's, you know,
Good point.
You have to push aside. You have to be so confident in saying no about so many things to you know, be able to distinguish what's actually truthful. And, you know, we could talk about the Bible and how I sort out truth from fiction, but for the average person, it's like, it's impossible. It's nearly impossible. It takes a lot of time. And we do have an internal truth metal detector. I do believe that. You know, we're like sharks for blood. Humans are designed to sniff out truth. But in these first generations of the internet, even before that, the radio, TV, I mean, there's so much. It's like drinking from a fire hydrant of information, but
Yeah.
also trying to find a needle in a haystack at the same time. So
Yeah.
it's difficult. And schizophrenia, to me, like that guy who came in the bookstore, at the end of the day, it's just so much confusion and so much noise coming in from so many different angles. It's, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, schizophrenics, I think, have a very degraded filter in some ways, right? Like their filter is just permeable, or, you know, and so whether it's, you know, archons that are, you know, occupying their space, or the random thoughts of others, right? It's a very interesting condition.
Mhm.
But it just feels like there's, you know, not a lot of footing right now. So people who can adjust to that and adapt to that, which for me brings up this like concept of acceleration and being to almost, you know, grab the comet by the tail. I think people who can do that and stay relatively grounded will do well during this time, right?
Mhm.
They'll do well.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, I think it's going to be very, very difficult. And one of the things that I would suggest to people during this time, and really for the next couple of years, is to stay active. And what I mean by that is not just go to the gym and work out, but get involved with something, whether it's your work, whether it's an idea, right? Whatever that is, the energy to really accelerate is there, right? It's like, you know, in sailing, they have this when you go wing on wing with your sailboat, you're basically putting both your sails out and you're catching the current, and you can move really quickly along the water. And in a lot of ways, we're on a wing on wing time. And if you can adjust to that and apply that to your life, you'll cover a lot of ground. But if you can't, or you don't want to, or you feel like, you know, the semblance of the 3D reality that you've been used to isn't there, and it's really important for you to find it, I think you may have to readjust your sails a little bit here, because I think we're in really interesting, but at the same time dangerous territory for people that can adjust and can't make those alterations.
Yes. Now, excuse me for being distracted. We actually have breaking news here. Okay. Have you guys heard the Tate brothers were
They got
both
busted. Yeah.
arrested in Miami?
Yep.
In Miami, of all places. So you caught wind of that early. When did that happen?
Yeah.
Was it earlier today?
It happened before the show.
Okay.
And it was the English who arrested them, right?
Whoa.
The English, and like 38 counts, and they perp walked both of them in handcuffs. And what's interesting about that is now we're entering into the language of siblings, right? The Tate brothers, and we have Mars in Gemini and Uranus in Gemini. And if I'm not mistaken, aren't we dealing with a Mars-Venus square right now? With Venus, Mars? That's right, right?
Yeah, it's got to be.
Right, yeah. And so we get into the realm of Venus and Libra and justice and women, right? Theoretically, the violation of women, if that's behind the scenes here. So also retrograde, right? They're retrograde. Mercury's retrograde, and they're going back to England. So here we go, right? Astrology getting played out with the arrest of the Tate brothers.
Yeah, we've actually got video here. I'm trying to pull that up right now. Merlin, what do you think? What do you, Robert? Not trying to get you in trouble, but what's your read on the Tate brothers? Good guys.
I'm not sure if they're good. I'm not sure if they're good. I think they're hustlers. That's what I think. I think they're hustlers, and I don't know. I've met guys like Andrew Tate, and they talk really good games, and I think he is slightly predatory. He's like a Pied Piper, and he's trying to groom a lot of young men.
Yeah.
And I think he has some interesting things to say, but I don't get that any of it is grounded in, people may push back on this. I don't think any of it's really grounded in God, right? There's no really deep spiritual transformational effect, in my estimation, with Andrew Tate, right? He's like a high level hustler who knows how to kind of work a room and keep a chick on a string. It might be secretly gay. That's what I think.
And it's really hard to paint the lifestyle as anything other than supremely hedonistic. Like you can word salad whatever you want on top of it, but it's at the end of the day, it's hedonism.
It's life on a lease too, right? Mm-hmm. Like, what does he really own? I mean, think about that. All those cars supposedly weren't even his. I mean, they were his, but they were all on, kind of mid to long-term leases. So I don't know. I've never been hit by him. He's got a recessive chin as well.
Based.
Yeah.
Damn. Robert, the looks maxer. Hell yeah. Robert, you gotta decode people's faces. You gotta do Phrenology Fridays with me.
That's a good idea.
I'm gonna start doing Phrenology Friday on.
I think it's a good idea.
My Patreon.
Yeah. What do you? So is that your final answer with the Tate brothers? Do you have more to add on them?
My only other question to you or Merlin would be, it's the obvious dumb question, but why go after him so hard? Is he causing that much of a? Is he a thorn in the side to the powers that be, or is I mean, throwing someone in prison isn't exactly a media stunt. I mean, they're in jail, they're in prison. What do you guys think? Why is he really hacking the Matrix? Is the Matrix really threatened by them, and is that why they're getting persecuted, or are they simply reaping what they sowed?
I think it's English politics. He's the perfect boogeyman for the English left because as England is waking up to the nightmare that they are living in their own country, surrounded by strangers who hate them and want nothing good for them. As people are waking up to that, they're releasing propaganda like that movie Adolescence that they made every kid in Britain watch. And they're saying, oh, don't be like the Tate brothers. Don't be like the Tate brothers. You know, these kids are getting radicalized by Andrew Tate. But in reality, you know, their reality is melting down around them. You know, the news cycle in Britain is nothing short of insanity.
Yeah.
So the English government going after the Tate brothers is just perfect for them.
What's funny is I think you're absolutely right about the recessed chin. I mean, he has some horrendous, facial features going on there. He's got like no frontal lobe. He's missing a forehead practically. But his brother's got a big, full forehead. Probably has some better decision making. His brother Tristan, I believe, is a flat earther, though. Merlin,
Can
I give him some credit for that, or what?
Well, there's the thing, like if it's all a psyop, and that's the thing is, I've been in the planar geocentric space for a hot minute. There's a lot of fucking shills and fakery that has been cataloged on IFRS for a long time. And the thing is, when people talk about, let's just say, geocentrism once in a while, I find that very odd because for me, that shit was reality changing. So when he like just makes some offhanded comments like, oh, it's a plane, and his brother and him are like, kind of making fun of some dude not agreeing that it's a plane or something like that. I remember seeing that in some interview. But then like never really talking about it. It's like, bro, how do you learn this and then not think it's a big deal? I understand if you don't believe it and you don't think it's a big deal, but to believe it and learn it and then not talk about it more, I find highly fucking suspect.
Right.
Highly suspect.
No one's a flat earther that doesn't list off a million facts for you that they watched in the last YouTube video, that they saw, right? So I see what you mean. Let's watch this video real quick for the hell of it. This is in Miami. It's US. Is there a rabbi? Is that a rabbi or a pilgrim? What the heck?
How was he dressed? Look at the fit. Good shit.
Back up. Back up. Guys, back up. You know the score? Are you able to pull it up some to the left? You gotta go. Okay.
Yeah, what's with the capris? Are those capris or?
Dude, and he's wearing like ballerina shoes, bro.
What's with the ankle pants?
I don't know.
Ankle pants.
There's something.
Is that big in Miami? Is that Miami couture?
Not really.
Nice use of couture.
No socks is a Miami thing, and I guess, but those are unusually high.
Robert, that's how they all dress in Florida, okay? It's not like they're a little bit odd down in Florida, not like Texas.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah.
So I was just looking at Andrew Tate's chart.
Yeah.
And he is a Sagittarius.
Yep, damn right.
And he has the moon also in Sagittarius.
Yep.
But it is balsamic, so it's dark. Right? He was born under the darkest of dark moons, the balsamic moon. And people that have the balsamic moon have a lifetime of having to let go and surrender, right? Because there's nothing left in the moon, right? It's just, pure like
Whoa.
theoretical vinegar.
Now,
And so what does he have to do here? So let go and surrender, right? Like that's the nature of
yeah.
the balsamic
Now,
moon. And it's painful in Sag because Sag just wants to have the barn door open, right? Wants to have the gate open and wants to, fly all over the world and, come and go as they please.
yeah.
So he's probably used to this by now because it's not the first time, but this one seems serious, right? This is not some, country in the Balkans somewhere. This is the English courts, and they don't fuck around. And there's like 38 counts. It's a lot, right? And I don't know. I haven't gone through what all those counts are, but if you look at his chart, he's got, he's Scorpio rising, and he has Venus and Pluto and Mercury, and they're all in the 12th house.
Yeah.
So this guy has things going on that we don't know about,
Right.
right? Like, we know like the cover story and, the grooming and, the OnlyFans shit, but I guarantee you he's got other things going on. And if I had to, take a wild stab here, one of the things that he's cooking, maybe not literally, but figuratively, is drugs.
Okay.
Like, I think he's probably gonna have drug related charges because
Mm,
that's all 12th house.
yeah.
It's all 12th
Well,
house stuff.
you know what jumps out to me on this, just at a glance? Look at how left-sided this guy is. I mean, I always say in my chart readings, right-heavy charts are more goody two-shoes. Left-heavy charts have a hard time following the law. When you're that left-sided, that's like right is right, left is wrong, left is deviant, left is
The left-hand path.
resisting the powers, and right. So this is what you can see how he sees himself as, like, the almost like a messiah. I'm hacking the matrix. I'm rebelling against the system. That's very left fielded too. But criminality is something that often shows up with these super left heavy charts where everything's over to the left.
Yeah, and I think even when, to your point, if you go into his first house or the lower part of his first house or early part of his second house, you'll run into this stellium in Capricorn, and he's got Neptune and he has Uranus and Saturn, and they're all in Capricorn, and that's in the second house. And like how you make money, which is the second house, is going to be kind of invariably shady, right? And again, Neptune ruling drugs, Uranus, right? The outlaw. I'm going to run my own program. I'm going to run my own scheme. And then Saturn would be something that I would say that he inherited from his father, because Saturn's the father. And when you get into Andrew Tate's father, he's a fucking hustler.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
Was he in the CIA too?
Probably CIA, but he also had, like, he was like a street guy. That's how he came across.
Mhm.
And I would think that his father, if not a double agent, I mean, let's be honest here. The CIA was one of the biggest drug dealers in, from the 80s to the 90s, with COINTELPRO and Panama and right. So there was a big stretch of time. Well, this, Longo. I mean, it's up your alley. But the father is key here in his chart. And when Saturn and Uranus, because it's foundational, it's in his second house, like learning how to live and get by and exist in the world and navigate through materiality. That's all his second house. And, there's a lot happening there. And then he has Mars and Jupiter in Pisces, and kind of in a wide conjunction. But then you throw that Jupiter and you throw that Mars, into his chart, and what's it doing? It's squaring his moon and squaring his sun. And this guy's he's not trustworthy either, right? He's not trustworthy, and he has, I would say, a shifting set of morals, right? Very Piscean, very mutable, and kind of shoots for, he's a gambler, he's a risk taker. You get that with Mars, Jupiter, and the squares. But again, if there's no kind of underpinning morality or something that's deeply transcendent, where's that going to take you? It's going to take, ultimately he's going to wind up back in his 12th house, because that's where he's going. Like, that's prison. And he's got a lot of real estate in his 12th house. So, and true note in Aries, right? So his life lesson is about conflict. You can't slice or dice it any other way. That's what a true note in Aries brings. So here you go. He's got more conflict in his life.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just a quick rundown of what I'm seeing here.
Can I say? Can I talk about the Venus real quick, if you don't mind? I'm sorry to be.
Yeah.
But
go for it.
That 12th house Venus is fucking fascinating, giving it Andrew Tate, right? Because what's he known for? Like, being a sex deviant one way or another. That's pretty much what he's known for. Yep. And he has a very afflicted Venus because it's in Scorpio, so it's in detriment. And then you can see, right, the AC on the left-hand side there, that's the horizon. And Venus is above the horizon while the sun is below the horizon. So he has a Luciferian Venus. Literally, like, at this moment when he was born, it was dark outside, but the light of Venus was shining, like that false light. So even symbolically, he's Lucifer, like his Venus is Lucifer, and he is painted as like El Diablo in England. But his sex is the 12th house, is the house of hidden enemies. So like all of his sexual misconducts essentially are coming back to haunt him. And what's it going to land him? Possibly in prison, which is also ruled by the 12th house. So like the strength of his 12th house is like the fact that it's connected to Venus, and Venus is right now, like we were talking about earlier, is in Virgo. The sign of her fall is just fucking fascinating.
Interesting for sure. Yep.
Yeah. Well, guys, I think that's about everything we wanted to cover. And on the way out, I want to make sure you guys all here we go. Guys, the link to Robert's book, the Amazon link, is in the description for this video, but you can also just go to Amazon yourself right here. And guys, get yourself a copy of Robert's new book right there, and give us a little bit of time, and it'll be available here in the bookstore as well in our astrology section. Booming astrology section, huge, floor to ceiling. So, yeah, guys. Robert, thanks for joining us, man.
It's always a pleasure, Dr. Longo. And Merlin, great meeting you. Where do you live?
Nice meeting you too. North Carolina.
North Carolina. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think I'll be in that neck of the woods for part of the book thing, so maybe we can meet up.
Definitely, man. I check your stream pretty frequently, so if I see it pop up on the tour, I will find a way to stop by if you're anywhere in the South. So, and I might swing on Florida down at some point. So,
okay,
for sure,
cool, man.
It's definitely nice meeting you.
Thanks again, Longo. Appreciate it.
Totally, man. Thanks for gracing us with your wisdom, and the book's there for everyone who wants a little piece of you to take home. They can get the book and keep an eye out for his upcoming tour.
The Celestial Blueprint Tour. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Night.
Peace. Good night.